What is going on, guys? So today I got a quick video on how to create tables with primary keys, create tables with foreign keys, a brief explanation of what both are, and how to use them, what they look like, and so on. So I got the first portion of my script here. This is for creating a table with the primary key, adding the constraint, inserting some data, like how to insert data when you have a table with a primary key. But first of all, what is this? So a primary key is a column or like a set of columns that uniquely identifies the entire row in the table. So for example, you see this right here, how I'm inserting one john.doe at example.com. You'll see I have customer ID, name, and email. So this first value here, customer ID, is 1. This is the primary key of this table. So what does this mean? We can never have another 1 appear as the customer ID ever again in this table. This 1 is uniquely assigned to John Doe's row. So that is how we are going to grab data specific to like a row. Like when you need a specific record, you would the best thing you can do is to look at the primary key. And you can use the primary key for other things like foreign keys, which we'll get to later on. But let's create this table, insert the data, and then take a look at it after. So this is the command here, create table customers, and then you just add your data type, your column name, and then you put primary key after. That's all it really is. So we've created the table. And you have to, if you don't specify that the primary key is an identity column, so identity, I've explained this in another video, that auto increments the ID for you. So it would do this by itself, 1, 2, 3. It would manage it for you. If you don't have it specified as an identity column, you will always have to insert the primary key yourself. If you try to insert without, I'll show you what happens. It's going to complain. So let's insert some data first. So I got those 3 rows, and now I'm going to try to, I don't feel like including the customer ID. I don't feel like including the primary key of the table. So like what's going to happen? Well, now there's nothing that uniquely identifies that row, right? There's no 1, 2, 3, 4, nothing. So the database doesn't know what to give this row, and it's not going to let you insert into the table. So that is the whole point of the primary key. Like, I hope that was clear enough, because now we're going to incorporate this. Well, actually, first let's take a look at this data. I mean, it's going to look pretty much like the insert here, but let's do a select star from customers. Let's highlight it, execute. Yeah, so here's your primary key, and then there's the data in the row. This additional numbering right here, so for example, if I'm to delete, or actually better example, if I insert like this, and now I select all from customers, this additional numbering here is just to show you the number of rows there are. This is not the ID, so do not get confused by this when you see it in SQL Server. This is just to number the rows for you. This is the actual unique identifier of the row. So because I don't have, what did I just do? Oh, I just went to messages, sorry. Because I don't have like a auto incrementer, the identity column set up with customer ID, I can give it anything as long as it's not in the table already. So 22, obviously that's not in the table. 44, that's not in the table. But if I try to insert 3, again, let's try to do 1, 2, and 3. Because it's a primary key, there's already values for these rows. So it's gonna say primary key constraint. Can't do that. We already got those values for customer ID in the database. So that's like a overall explanation. Primary key can't be null. Two keys can't have or 2 rows can't have the same primary key. So what is a foreign key? A foreign key is basically a reference to another table's primary key. And because that primary key has a surefire way of grabbing a row of data, this is a way to create a link between the tables. So I have created another table here, which is orders. So customers can create orders, right? each order will have its own ID. So we can distinguish like order 1, order 2, order 3, order 4. We need to be able to tell which order is what. But we also need to be able to tell which customer like ordered that. So we need to link to that customer table. Well, thankfully that customer table has a customer ID, and that's why we can just link right to that, because we reference it via foreign key. So that's how we do it. It's pretty simple. You put your data type and then you put foreign key as well, and then you have to add references and specify the table, like the table name and then the column name. So you have to actually tell SQL Server like, hey, this is what the foreign key will reference. So make sure now to like throw any errors if somebody tries to delete a customer ID, because I'm referencing it from this table. So that's also what a foreign key does, by the way. I've explained it a little bit down here. Basically, if somebody tries to go and delete a customer ID now after I create this table, and I have references to that customer ID, like for example 3, like Alice and Johnson here, Alice Johnson, it won't let me delete this row because it'll say, hey, this is a foreign key constraint violation. It's referenced in another table. So you'll need to come into this order table here, delete this, and then delete in the primary key where it's originally referenced. So we'll mess around with that. Maybe I'll make it a little more clear, but this also kind of ties into how this works. So in order to reference a primary key of another table, you need to have the data inserted already there. So like I have this data that we see here, 1, 2, 3, 22, 44, 55. Now I can insert this data here that references that data, right? Because I already have these primary keys created in my customer table. So I have customer ID 1, which is John Doe, customer ID 2, which is Jane Smith, and customer ID, which is Alice Johnson. So now I can reference these customer IDs in my second column and create data referencing it. So let's do that. Let's create the table for orders. And now let's insert the data. And let's take a look. Okay, so we'll see there's the customer ID here, 1, 2, and 3. But it's the ID only that's referenced here. So you're not going to see the customer name, right? Which can, get a little confusing when you're just taking a look at the table right away. But because these are solid links in the database between the tables, like it's a surefire way to make sure you're getting the correct row because of this primary key and foreign key explanation I gave you guys, like no nulls, no duplicates, all that good stuff. You can do a join off of these. So like I'm in the orders table, right? So I can actually select all these columns from my orders table and then join off the customers table and get the customer's name and email as well. So let's try that out. So basically I'm using the customer ID from my order table initially, right? So I have this customer ID and then I'm joining to this customer table further up. I'm joining based off of this customer ID, and I'm just grabbing this extra data from this row. So like, hey, customer ID 1, what does he have? John Doe at example.com, and now I can just access that data in my query because I did a join. So yeah, that's pretty much what a join is, really quick. So yeah, that is how foreign keys and primary keys work together, how to use them in SQL Server, guys, and yeah, a quick explanation of what they are as well. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll respond to them. And then drop a like as well. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.